Aloha mai kako, and welcome to Inspired by Aloha, a podcast dedicated to making your day a little brighter by showcasing that inspirational people and acts of aloha surround us every day. My name is Erin.
And I'm Amy.
And I'm Shireen.
And we are so grateful that you've chosen to spend a few minutes with us as we get ready to be Inspired by Aloha.
Aloha, everyone. Wow. In our podcast today, we welcome a mana wahine who has climbed the corporate ladder and has proven herself to be an inspiring leader in our hospitality industry and a mentor to many up-and-coming leaders to assure a sustainable future for Hawaii. Please help me to welcome our dear friend, Christina Gabriel.
Yay!
That's our silly Christina. Chris, we're so happy that you're here with us. So thanks for making the time to join us before we start asking you some questions. Okay, so we've known Christina for how long? Long time.
As long as we've kind
as
of
long
known each
as
other.
I've known you.
I know.
Yeah, because we all met at UH.
Yes. That's correct.
That's right. We were all silly
Freshmen.
Yeah.
Dorming.
Yeah.
Dorming in the
Together.
same dorm.
Yeah,
That's how we
Christina
met.
was a good student, though. I
I
feel
was
like
not.
we're trying to hype you up, girl.
Okay, thanks. I swear the only reason I passed was because I had Amy next to me. So we were.
Well, actually, you're
That's a
right.
lot of us.
When I used to fool around and play around and play pranks on people, Christina would be, I'm gonna go study.
I don't want to play. I don't really think I did, though.
So we're so happy you're here. So why don't we just start from the beginning? Tell us about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, what high school you went, and a little bit about college. So what happened before you started working?
Okay, so let's see. That was the best introduction I've ever had, by the way. Thank you so much. That was awesome. So I grew up in Pro City, Aiea, and actually Eva Beach. My grandma lived in Eva Beach. My dad's side grew up on Eva Plantation, so that was a ton of fun. I mean, those were the days of the cane fields, and you'd watch the cane on fire at night, and all the black ashes would come down, which nobody likes anymore, but it was so cool back then. So I grew up like that, playing around the Eva, the homes in Eva and in the water ditches where all the water was irrigated. It was a ton of fun. Went to school in Pro City. So I'm a proud graduate of Pro City High School. Go Chargers.
Yay, Chargers.
Right. And believe it or not, I started in the industry in high school. So back in high school, they had this assessment that you took to figure out what you wanted to be.
Just talking about that.
Oh, I did that too.
You did that too?
I did
So
that, yeah.
mine came out park ranger. And I was super jazzed up.
Yeah, that
Amy was
mine.
park ranger.
Really?
Yeah.
So I was like, I can ride a horse and be like Smokey the Bandit. And then I was like, there's not many forests out here in Hawaii. So what am I going to do? Right? So same time, there was this wonderful soap opera at night called Hotel. Do you guys remember that?
The Japanese one.
Connie
That
Selico
one.
was the main
the
female
English
character. She was like the assistant GM. Not that I knew titles back then, but she was pretty, right? And she wore a suit every day, and she had a handsome boss, and it looked like fun. And we had plenty of hotels in Waikiki. My grandma was a what they called waitress back then. We call them servers now, but she was a waitress at the coffee shop, and my grandpa was a waiter at Halekolani. So as a kid, drove through Waikiki, meeting them, picking them up from work. So kind of knew that. Always saw my grandpa come home with a roll of $1 bills from tips, right? So I thought, wow, that could be a good job, right? And dressed nicely, right? My grandma had that cute little not cocktail, but what the waitresses wore back then with the little bibs and the cute skirt.
Like the apron.
Yeah, it was really like that in a coffee shop. So I thought that was cute. My grandpa wore a jacket. So I thought, why not? That would be a cool thing to get into. So in high school, during the breaks, the Christmas and the summer breaks, I'd go and work at a hotel. And so that's kind of how it started. Wow. Ironically, that was at the front desk. I did that for a couple of years, at least 2 years. And then across the front desk was a restaurant. And I actually thought the restaurant would be more fun than the front desk. So that was my first experience from the front desk, and also my last. So
Yes, never went back.
And then I decided food and beverage is where it's all at.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's what started it all off. Went to the University of Hawaii and applied for the School of Travel Industry Management. Got in, saw a counselor my freshman year there. The counselor told me that I'd never make it in travel industry management.
Oh, what?
We won't
Yeah,
mention that person's name.
I know because the
you gotta tell me
counselors were
later.
mandatory. Remember you had to go
Yes, yes.
speak to a counselor and tell them what your
Yeah.
future was, and they were going to confirm whether or not that was the right choice. So we had to go. So I went, was told that, never went back. And continued my journey at the Tim School. So thank goodness I didn't
For your
listen.
perseverance.
And
counselors
here
are
I
good
am.
now.
Yeah. So and that's my journey. So spent a year at University of Massachusetts too. So I have to pitch
right.
that.
You did that.
I have to pitch that
Yeah.
because anybody going to college, if you have the opportunity to travel abroad for a year for that exchange program, you should absolutely do it. We had a hoot. We went to University of Massachusetts where there's lots of snow. They had wine tasting classes, which the University of Hawaii
Wow.
didn't have. That was
nice.
fantastic.
That was a good old time.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. So go travel abroad,
Not
check out another
fair,
school.
because Shireen and Erin, you guys went on a
Yeah,
thing
we
too,
went to
right?
Oregon State University, but
Oh.
they didn't have wine tasting.
No, they did not.
You both went to Oregon State. Did you guys go
Yes.
at the same time?
Yes.
Yes, we did at the same year.
How come I never go?
I don't know.
I don't
It was
know.
a ton
You
of
should've
fun.
come.
You had to pay for that. Was that
No, it was
extra?
like the same
So- No, you
tuition,
paid
right?
you paid UH's tuition
Yeah.
and you just went. And so you got to dorm with other people out there, and it was so much
Oh,
fun.
really? How come I never
Yeah.
go? Oh, probably because I wasn't doing it good in school.
I wasn't either. I think you just
I know,
had to
but you
sign
still
up.
needed
Yeah.
permission at that time. I think
Oh,
so. Maybe
yeah,
my parents told
yeah,
me no.
yeah.
Stay home and study.
And that was the first time I experienced on movies you would see sorority and fraternities, and I thought that's not real, right? That's totally real.
Super
The
real.
parties with the cakes of beer, all
And the
I
houses.
never, and the
Right,
houses
and
with
the
the Greek
houses.
letters in the front. All of that was
Wow.
was good fun.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Nice. So, Christina, now that you've told us a little bit about growing up, can you share your story about your journey in Hawaii's visitor industry and what that looked like for you when you first started and how you've progressed since then?
Sure. So, interestingly, started in the hospitality industry. We talked about the front desk, so then went into food and beverage and worked for a couple companies. And I think through all of that, I landed on a company that truly resonated with me. And so I've been with that company now for 29, going on 30 years.
Wow. You started when you was like 12.
Well, I did, and I also worked for that company at the University of Hawaii too, in the Pizza Hut.
That's right.
So those years
Pizza
of
Hut at
service,
UH Manoa.
did?
That was the
Did.
best.
It was so
Yes.
fun. Like the personal pans and
yeah,
stamping it.
because
I remember
you could
doing
put
that.
as much. Well, like if you were, I mean. I can talk about it now. That was such a long time ago. But we were making calzones with those pan pizzas. You could do whatever you wanted,
do whatever
right?
you want.
And so, but that really helped. It was always about the industry and always about food and beverage because it's so exciting. There's so much to eat out there and drink. So I think
Food
that
is
was
good.
the lure. That was the lure, right? And so I started in restaurants as an assistant. Well, before that, I started working at country clubs as a server. I paid my way through college as a banquet wait person, a banquet server, because that was good money, and it was only on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so that was really good. And then after that, started working in the industry. So started as a restaurant manager, worked on the island of Maui for a few years. Then decided to move to the island of Kauai. This was after the hurricanes. So when the first hurricane hit, Hurricane Iniki, I was working on Maui. We were actually standing on the beach waiting for, I don't know, a tsunami or something, but nothing ever happened. So we're like, nothing happened, only to find out that Kauai had gotten hit.
Right.
And so they flew a bunch of us from the current property that I was working at over to Kauai to really help clean up. And that it was incredible what what the tsunami had done or the hurricane had done, and then the waves, of course. So then there was a bunch of us that actually transferred to Kauai to help with that hotel, to see it through that particular point in time. I ended up eventually transferring to the island of Kauai and stayed there for about 3 years.
Wow.
And then moved back here to Oʻahu to work out in Ko'olina, which back then was the JW Marriott Ihilani. And so that was the days where that was the only hotel out in Ko'olina.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
When you were driving on the freeway, you could be like, that's where I work. It was the only building there.
It's one building.
Before the entire city of Kapolei came up. And that
right,
was...
and nobody believed that there would ever be a city out there. Isn't that
Right.
funny?
Right.
Look at it now.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
I remember when we went down there to visit Paradise Cove Luau in
Yes.
college. We were writing reports about that. We were studying it for some class, I remember. But gosh, Ko'olina is amazing now. And so my journey really ran me through a whole bunch of different positions, from being a beverage manager to pool bar managers to restaurant managers to multiple restaurant managers, director of restaurants, director of events too, which was a hoot, because that was just amazing to be able to plan these huge functions for large groups with lots of money. And so sky's the limit, right? You could have helicopters dropping orchids, and you could plan fireworks shows on barges from the ocean, and just amazing things. So that was a ton of fun. Spent about 6 years out at Ihilani, and then decided to move from that hotel business into the vacation club business, which is what I'm still in, back to the island of Kauai. So spent about 12 years on Kauai after that. Oh, absolutely loved it. Loved it. And that was the first opportunity I had to really expand my career, and that was my first general manager's job. Such a, for me, such an important time, because we grew up in the days where there weren't a whole lot of locals working, and definitely not a whole lot of females. So for me, I think that was truly just something really special and a special time. So that was a lot of fun. Had made a lot of good friends out on Kauai. They're still my great friends till today, and learned a lot. And so really just, gosh, it's such a wonderful island to be a part of, and learned a lot about the culture too, which was really one of the greatest things I think that I take away from that whole journey. Yeah, and now, of course, I'm back at Ko'olina, and still having fun in the industry 30 years later.
Yeah.
I love it.
I remember when you received your general manager's promotion on Kauai, and I was so excited. It wasn't that long ago, but it was, it still is a male dominated industry, but there were certain key managers in our Hawaii industry that paved the way for us to expand our career. If you thinking about like Kelly Hain and Pam Yagi, and these women that were GMs early in a very man dominated world. Any corporate company, right, has just this tradition of certain, and it's Hawaii. So there would be all these gentlemen that want to come to Hawaii for their last stint of being GM, because this is a place that they wanted to retire. So anyway, long story short, when Christina was promoted to GM, I was like, yeah, you broke the glass ceiling. Yeah, a local girl from Pearl City, right? So happy. And I think everybody, everyone in our company was super happy, because it was like, yes, success.
Yeah. And you have to remember, those were the days, and the industry's changed so much, but those were the days that we were told that if you don't move, right, you don't work on the mainland, you don't work somewhere else, you're never going to be able to make it. And I think Amy and I had talked about this a lot when we were going through college, that the reason that we joined this industry is not because we want to be a GM in San Francisco or New York, or be a leader in those areas, or in Japan or in China or wherever, but it was really about what the industry meant in Hawaii and what it represented that drew us to that business. And so when people say, because there had been opportunities to move internationally and to the mainland, well, would you consider it? I've always said no. And so to be able to be successful and not leave, I think is just great, because for all those, young people out there that think that they have to leave this beautiful place, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, if it's really where you enjoy and what you truly believe in. And I think the relationships that I've been able to make because I was here in Hawaii for this, long time really made a difference, and I wouldn't have changed that, because people will say, don't you think you should have gone to China? That would have been such a great experience. I'm like, I don't know. You know, so
I remembered one of the corporate HR managers had told both of us, well, if you ladies choose to stay in Hawaii, your career journey might be longer. If you want promotion quicker, then, taking the John over to the continent will help your career. And I'm like, no, but I don't like working one hotel in Los Angeles, right? I kind of say aloha, right? So, but it's possible, right? You work hard, and I think the industry has changed where we're wanting to support, our local folks in being successful. So I think that's awesome. But that's a nice segue to our topic of aloha.
So Christina, you in your experience, in your career, in your travels inner island, what does aloha mean to you? And it seems like you've carried that with you wherever you go, and you've left that with people that you've touched as well.
Wow, that is a super great question, because it makes me always think and pause. But when I first started in this industry, I had the privilege of being a part of this training led by Dr. George Kanahele. So I'm sure everybody's nodding their heads. So he's done a lot of great works, but he did a training for the company that I was with, and I was fascinated and captivated, right, of all he had to say, and the information that he shared truly resonated with me, and I carried it through my entire career. And one of the things that he said was that when you say aloha, you have to mean it, and if you don't mean it, then don't use it. And so I remember that through my career, and if I'm upset with somebody or upset at a guest, I don't scream out aloha to them because I don't mean it, and but it's simple things like that, right? And it's simple things that you have to remember and keep in mind so that you don't lose the meaning of what aloha truly is. So I think gosh, did I answer that question? Wow, but that was inspiring. That was the first time. And then I after that, so I really read a lot of his material and absorbed that training that came about. And I think that was the first time I heard, like, wow, I gotta pay attention to this, to the Hawaiian culture a little bit more, right? Because we weren't taught that in school. We weren't. We used it, right? Yes. We were taught how to use it because that's what was promoted or marketed, but we weren't necessarily taught the value, right? Or how to preserve, right? Or how to be true to what aloha really meant. So I thought that was interesting. And then hearing the fact that, aloha is what Hawaii markets, and it's intangible. And that resonated with me too, because I'm like, you're right. There's no other place in the world that has something that's intangible that people come to experience. And so I still remember those lessons, and I think, gosh, okay, how do I be a better person, better steward of the aloha spirit, and how do I teach people that, right? So that kind of started the journey, but it is the people along the way that have spent time or taught me that I think helped me become a leader through aloha, right? So whether I had the opportunity to work with Doug Chang now too. I don't, and he probably doesn't even realize this, but when I did a training when I worked at one of the properties with him and learned so much, right? And that was very inspiring. And so when you can learn like that, I think you can share more, right? And so that training as well stayed with me and allowed me to try and create additional programs wherever I worked to help and educate the leaders around us, or the associates in that case. But it's the influential people that you meet along the way, I think, that really help create who you become as a leader, right?
Yes.
So he was very integral. And then on the island of Kauai, I met with Troy Lazaro, who Amy knows, and Auntie Stella Burgess, and they really took the time, taught me a lot. But it is you know, it's a quilt of all the people you meet along the way, right? And
like that,
they sort of, through the experience they share with you, they help you develop sort of what aloha means. And so, yeah, that's kind of my story. It's been a journey. It's been fascinating. Stuff I never would have had the opportunity to learn or see, right? So I could go on for days. But that influential in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know that you had also mentioned that aloha is not just a construct or a concept. It's actually a state law. It's actually something that's part, right?
So that was fascinating too. Like I tell people, so many people don't realize that there is it's the aloha spirit law, right? And gosh, I we were just talking about this, but people don't realize that it's actually a state law, right? And so if you ever wondered, it's already been determined, right? Of what it means and what it should embody, right? And the law does talk about the coordination of mind and heart within each person, right? And so it's about thinking of good things or emoting good feelings to others, right? And that's sort of the purpose of aloha. And so being able to be your best with others, for others, and in that spirit, right? So, and it says much, much more than what I just spoke to, but I think we have to keep that in mind when we use aloha and how we share aloha, right? It's not just, we're trained, right, in our industry to say aloha to people automatically, but there's more than just saying that. So,
Well, aloha
yeah, keeping that in mind.
is an acronym too, right? In the
Yes.
law, it's an acronym. Can you
Yes.
share that with us as well as our listeners?
Sure. So I learned, and here I'm going to, just share with what I learned. So the A stands for akahai, right? Meaning kindness, or to be expressed with tenderness. The L meaning lokahi, meaning unity, to be expressed with harmony. Olu olu meaning agreeable, to be expressed with pleasantness. And ha'a meaning humility, or to be modest. And of course the A is ahonui, meaning patience, to be expressed with perseverance. So really, core values, so say, for us to check within ourselves as we share aloha with the people around us.
When you
Yeah.
look at those core values, is there anyone that actually resonates with you, especially in the work that you do in the hospitality industry?
Oh, I think all of them. I mean, every day, right? It is about, humility is a big one for me,
That's a
right?
big-
Being
yeah.
humble and realizing that I always look at it as I'm very privileged to be here, because I realize that my great-grandparents came over as immigrants. So even for someone like me, being appreciative of the people here accepting our family, because we too were in essence visitors, right?
Yeah.
And then being embraced by the people around us, because all of us are products of everybody that we meet,
Yes.
right? And so I'm so grateful, right, that I can have this opportunity and this journey and the people that I've met along the way. So I think humility is big, and of course all of them are so meaningful, right? Kindness, right? Akahai, and having patience, which I'm pretty poor at, but
We're working on it.
never-ending journey of learning, but all of those stuff, right? So all the new terms nowadays, when they talk about like diversity and inclusion, all of that stuff is all captured already in here, right? So
Absolutely.
it's interesting as nowadays they come up with new stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of the stuff we've been trying to do all along the way, right? No, it's true, right?
Yeah,
Like diversity and inclusion. I was like, what? I thought we were
Just
doing
aloha.
that
Just
already.
be
Yeah.
kind, be
Yeah.
humble, be
Yeah.
patient,
Right,
be
right,
gentle.
right.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting.
In all the people that you've met and have mentored you over the years, like how like sometimes I would feel a little intimidated because I was not Native Hawaiian.
Oh,
Yet in a leadership role you you had a kuleana to perpetuate that culture. And sometimes I would get like intimidated, right, to meet with these practitioners that were I thought were so like amazing, and I was so like nervous about how do I, am I worthy enough? That sounds silly, but sometimes I would feel like, wow, am I worthy enough to learn? Because I felt like, wow, but I'm not Native Hawaiian. But then I have a, I have a responsibility as a leader to perpetuate that. So, I mean, I don't know if that was the case for you, but some of the cultural practitioners that you've worked with over the years are truly outstanding.
Oh, I'm totally like that with you. It's exactly the same. So I'm always intimidated because I don't speak the language. I didn't grow up with the language. I learned about the language because I used to dance hula as a kid. That was my first blush, right, with the language and the meaning of the words in the songs, right, and understanding that. And so I'm always intimidated. I'm always like, but I'm always so excited to be able to be in their presence, So I think that's what drives me to just want to learn more and do more and learn the best way I can to share with others, because I know that there's others that are similar to me. I often look for resources because that's how I learn. I don't think the things that I've learned are written in books. I think they're shared from the people that want to share, right? So yes, but I feel the same. I always have felt a bit of intimidation. They're very warm though. I think everybody that I've learned from had always been very open arms, very welcoming. If you want to learn, we will share, right? And I remember one time, and Troy Allen will say this too, but I'm always super like, studious almost, right? And he's like, Christina, if it was meant to be, it'll happen, right? But I'm always very like, no, it's got to be like this A, B, C, D, F, G. And he's like, no, that's it. And I'm always like, I'm sorry, I'm late. And they're like, don't worry, it's fine, right? So just a different mentality from what I was accustomed to, but really meant volumes, right? And everything was a journey. So everything that they wanted me to discover was a journey, right? So they would sort of cue me in the right direction, but I had to put in the work to learn about whatever it was, whether it was a history about a place or something like that. And then when I would figure it out, they would smile, right? And then say, yes, you figured it out, right? But it was interesting the way that they taught and the way that I learned with them. So very, very interesting. So I remember once I was talking story, some of these, they're so knowledgeable, right? And so when you sit down and you talk about genealogy or history of a place or stories that are associated with it, and this is like a bunch of kupuna onkoi, there's like 4 of them, right? All of a sudden you feel compelled to have to record, right? Because you're like, I'm not going to be able to repeat this story, because tomorrow I'm going to go to work and I'm going to try to explain to people what a great, what great inspiration they were, and I'm not going to remember what they said. So you think, my first inclination is to try and record it or write it down, right? And then they said, no, just listen, because what you remember is what should be shared, right? And when you think about it, their history is a very oral history, right? That's how they that's how they talk about their genealogy and all of that, right? And so that was very, 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 very. It continues to be very difficult for me because I want to capture so much, and I swear my memory's not as good as it used to be. So I almost get too nervous, right? Because I'm trying to listen so intently. But they say, no, what you are meant to remember, you will remember. And I was just like, wow.
I love that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Because you will feel that, and you will know that those are the right things for you, and then for you to pass on to others.
Yeah. See, but that was, just what?
I know. We were not taught that. That's why.
Record it? I'm like, no.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
We were taught to be diligent and write it all down, and so we can remember every piece of it.
Right.
But
so
Aloha
it is truly about, everything that I think I remember most is truly about being present at the moment and observing what you see, feel, smell, right? And that becomes the story. It's very, very incredible. Yeah.
What can you share with us? So just maybe you need a little moment to think, but Can you share with us an experience, a learning experience for you that was just truly memorable, one of those that you never, ever, ever forget?
Well, there are a ton. There truly are. But this one really comes to my mind because I was in awe. As a part of the Makahihi season, part of the tradition was for this family to go and light the lamaku to welcome the canoes back. That's how they would signify to the canoes in the ocean where to return to. So it involved a group of us going to the top of a hill where there was a lamaku, which is a stone bowl, and they had collected the kukui nut oil over the past few weeks, brought the oil up to this bowl. We weren't a part of the protocol as women, but we could observe the men going to the bowl to place the oil and light the fire. And of course there was the proper protocol took place, so to be able to see that was pretty amazing. And while they were lighting the lamaku and they were chanting, there was a specific point in time where you could see the sun set and the moon rise. And
wow.
so it was, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And they were both full sun, of course, a circle, but full moon circle, right? And I'm not making this stuff up, but then there was a white owl that flew by. Okay. And so there are things like that you just cannot, I just, there's a reason, right? And that was like how your eyes are wide open. That's what happened to me, right? And there's no, as much as you want to take out your iPhone and take a picture, you cannot, right? Because that's not the right thing to do at that time. And there's no way you could have taken a picture of the moon and the sun because the panoramic was not big enough, right? So anyway, I really want to take a picture of that, but that was amazing. And then we stayed the night, and you could see the fire. We drove all the way back down, but you could see the fire lit on the hillside, and they watched the fire throughout the night. But it's stuff like that. I mean, it's just crazy, the things that you learn from other people, right? So even just being I remember we did a huvai early in the morning once, and Troy was in the water, and he had performed, with the oli and all of that, and we went into the water, and I mean, literally the things that I would have never noticed before, but became more aware of, you see and hear, right? So you see the shooting star, you see the turtle that comes, the honu that comes by, or you see the seal that comes by, but that's all that kind of stuff is very inspiring, right? Because just things you're like, okay, that ain't me, right? But somebody can talk to these elements, right? But it's not me, So just to be able to experience things like that is just really, it's overwhelming almost, right? You feel so privileged to be a part of that. So it didn't matter what it was, even if we were like hunting for ferns in Koke, right? So Troy would do his oli, we'd walk into the forest, and voila, there'd be this patch of right? No, you know what I mean? There'd be this patch with the sun streaming down, just appears, right? And you look and you see this rays of light hitting the patch of the ferns that you were looking for, right? It's stuff like that, right? Or you're marching along your trail looking for maili, right? And all of a sudden you smell the fragrance of maili, right? And I swear, if that were just me by myself, that would have never happened, right? But it's things like that I'm just like, wow, right? So magical almost, right?
That's terrific.
Yeah. But that was more than one story, but
no,
just
that's
things
beautiful.
like, it was the everyday things that you're just like, wow. And things I would have never found or experienced on my own.
That's one of the things, though, that I love, that, you're a local girl, general manager, leadership positions, and you embrace all that Hawaii is, and you bring that into your work so that you can then share it with all of our visitors and all the people that you supervise and you inspire. And I love that about you, Christina. You are an exceptional leader, an exceptional mana wahine, for sure. So, yeah, you are.
And those are the stories that remain in your mind and on your heart.
In your heart.
And you've experienced it, and you've seen it, and you share it with others so they can experience it as well. you were saying about Troy doing his oli and just asking for that blessing. You've had all these moments of blessings throughout your experience to just receive all this, these types of experiences, I guess, to be able to share with others.
Yeah.
And share that aloha.
Yeah. I feel super privileged. I mean, to be able
Nice.
to experience things like that. Yeah.
And you have to slow, in your busyness, right? But you have to slow.
Oh yeah,
and then
so
just
that's very
see
interesting
it.
for me because I'm always 110 miles an hour,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
you have to read.
That's your job.
And Mrs. Bailey.
So to be a part of that and realize that really none of that matters,
Right.
pretty interesting change.
Well, that goes back to ha'a ha'a. I was
Yes.
just thinking, right?
Yeah.
To that part of aloha, to humble yourself to
Right.
receive, you know?
Right. And it's like to be empty, to empty your vessel so that you're able to accept
Yeah.
that more that comes in. So I think that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
I just have to share the story of Troy because he's probably going to listen to this because he just loves Christina. But it was a bright, sunny 4th of July, not a cloud in the sky. And we were doing a guest activity. It was a impromptu Troy Allen Lazaro hula show. He's probably laughing right now. Because with Troy, there's never any practice. So that was back then, yeah. If you're hula halal listening, haumana listening about Troy, but so he's like, okay, let's just do these songs, and so our friend Peter Villatora and I were, and Auntie Linda, and Troy's like, I want to sing this song, and we're on the pool deck, and the people are in the, they're in the pool, they're drinking beers, they're having fun, and we have this little impromptu hula show, and then he's like, Linda, let's do Poliahu. Oh, I love that song. And he starts singing Poliahu. And he's so good, right? He's so talented. And in the middle of the song, the song is speaking about the mist and whatever. And all of a sudden, there's this mist that that comes down across the area we're at. And Linda's dancing. She's got her, her hula motioning the mist of the mountain. And then, whoosh, this mist, there's not a cloud in the sky. Shoosh, this mist comes down, and I remember, and Troy just gets all jazzed, right? He's like, oh, he starts singing even more emotionally, and then Peter is crying next to me, and I'm like, oh, this is so, and then of course the whole audience is like, and then we end, and he goes, okay, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Wasn't that awesome? And we're like, how did that happen, right? So it's all that
Connection.
It's
Yeah,
all
all those
connection
Yeah.
again.
It's
so crazy.
incredible. Yeah.
So with all that you've learned, in what ways have you honored your commitment to perpetuating the authenticity of Hawaiian culture?
Oh, that's a really
your
tough one.
roles?
Yeah. So that is an interesting question. I think I'm still challenged with that today, because as it's just part of it, right? So I think part of the way that we try is, I really do try to use cultural practitioners or people that are olelo Hawaiʻi in the things that we do, because I want to make sure that the words that we use are the right words and how we use them. It's so much easier now. There's so many people that young people too that speak and write. So I think the access to that kind of knowledge is much more available than it was before. But making sure that we just don't throw out words just because it's in the Hawaiian language, and because that still happens. So trying to use it when it's appropriate, and then trying to engage as much as possible the people that truly do these things, right? So not just doing something just because you want to, but making sure that the meaning behind it is the right meaning. Right? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Like the
Yeah.
intention.
And being pono
the
about
intention,
it.
yes, be
Yeah.
pono about it. That's exactly correct, right? So I will never do anything off the cuff. If it involves any type of protocol, it's making sure that I have the right people doing the right things. That's super important, right? And not just trying to rush to do something just because.
Yes.
Right, so those things are still remain super important to me, and teaching people that if the person that you need to do this event isn't available on that day, it means you just wait, right? Or you choose the date that they're available. You don't just go find somebody else, right? So it's things like that. That happened recently, actually, when they're like, oh, well, that person's not available. So I'm like, no, this is the right person. We will wait.
Right.
When is that person available? Things like that, right?
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, because there's certain people, there are certain people that are connected for certain places, right?
Yeah.
And so it's utilizing those people and making sure we listen to those people.
That's like the lessons from your kupuna, right? They're like, if it's meant to be,
Right.
Totally.
it'll happen.
And
if
it's
it's the
okay.
right person,
Right.
then we wait for the right person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
Why it's kind of exciting that your career path was going to bring you back to Waikiki where it all started,
yeah.
and all of that UK, right? All of that knowledge that you bring with you bring back to Waikiki, and there are cultural people that are making tremendous strides in Waikiki. Now that I'm at Kapilani, I get to meet all these people, right? And so Auntie Kuipo and Auntie Luana, that are doing things for the right reasons. Right. And it's a generation, like we're old enough to say it's a generation later in Waikiki, and that, seeing that cultural shift, I think is exciting. So
It's not for a gimmick. It's to truly honor the culture in the
Yes.
appropriate way, the way it should be.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I hear it, at least, that there's a movement sort of to bring that old Waikiki back to Waikiki, right?
Yeah.
And I heard about that, and I'm super excited to be able to find ways to be a part of that, right?
Yeah.
Where when you're walking through Waikiki, you hear the Hawaiian music, right? And that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be super
Yeah,
cool.
there are some really neat things happening in Waikiki. It's exciting. It's just meant to be, right? Things just come full circle and meant to be. So yeah.
What wisdom, all this aloha that you've had and you've had experience and been able to give, what wisdom can you share with us or with our listeners as to how people can perpetuate aloha?
I would say, I think just try to do your best and do it for the right reasons. And do it with the right, just like what we talked about, right? Doing it with the right mind, doing it with the right heart, right? And if you do things from that frame of mind and thought process, hopefully then the decisions that you make are truly the ones that can help make something better, improve something, right? And I think that would be my thought, right, on what to share. Just take the time to stop and think about, is that the right thing to do, right? From the perspective of the Hawaiian culture, and making, I'm always very cautious when I do that, because I want to make sure that what we share and what we teach is in the best light that we could possibly share it in, right? It's not just because, right? So meaningful, it provides meaning.
And if you don't know, then ask, because
Totally.
someone will know.
There's so
Don't
many
make it up.
resources
Don't make up
out there.
stories. Don't
It's
make up-
just
don't make up stories.
People
Don't make up
make up
sto-
stories.
yeah, don't make up story.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about
don't do
finding
that.
the right people. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. We all started off in the hospitality industry, and then three of us are no longer in it, but Christina continues to perpetuate aloha within the industry. And, it's true, though. Some people have criticized in the past, that Hawaii's hospitality industry has culturally appropriated Hawaii and Hawaii's indigenous native Hawaiian culture, and have done so for profit. And like you were saying, like, we didn't learn that much about Hawaiian culture even in our school, right? I mean, so you sought it out, and you were able to then see the value and then incorporate it in your work. But I'm curious, do you still feel this is the case today, though, that in some respects the native Hawaiian culture is sometimes still culturally appropriated within the travel industry? Or do you even think it's even possible for any travel industry related business to exist without exploiting the host culture of that area?
I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I think there's more advocates for people to use the culture appropriately.
Yeah.
I think there's more resources. I think the fact that the younger generation are speaking the language more is huge.
Yes.
Right? That's not something I heard when I was growing up.
And so I think we can get there, and I think it's the responsibility of each individual within the industry to do their part, right? Whatever that is. So, I mean, for me, I don't speak the language, but I super appreciate anybody that's willing to share the culture, right? And how do we continue to share that perspective with the people that are coming up in the industry? But I think part of it stems from just loving this place, right? Like Hawaii is so unique and so special. So I think that's a big one, right? You gotta love this place that you live. I love traveling. That's my hobby. My husband and I travel all over the world. But man, there's nowhere like Hawaii.
Nowhere like home.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? And we really realized that, and I absolutely love this place. And gosh, I think that's what drives the whole wanting to keep Hawaii, right? And wanting to share the culture or respect the culture, right? As it should be. Yeah. So that's, I think, what I would say to that. Yeah.
That's so true. Like, I mean, I was getting choked up when you're talking, because it's like, we love to travel.
Oh,
we love to
travel.
learn
Yes.
and meet new people and taste new foods. But there's nothing like coming home and having that first hot breeze and
Right.
humidity hit you, and then and set your foot on this soil and on this aina, and you're just like, I'm home. Now let's go zippies. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, there's like,
Right. And
so-
there's no place, like, whatever people want to say, but there really is no place like
true.
the people in Hawaii. Right?
Yes.
And really it is. I mean, I think, I just came back from Vegas, but I think that's why people like Hawaii. People, I mean, you go to Vegas and you stay at the California Hotel, you can say you can say hello, how's it,
Right.
shaka to anybody over there, and you're going to get a smile and a response, right? Yeah, there's no other place that we've been able to visit in the world where you can do that to the strangers. They're going to look at you like you're crazy, right?
But that's because so many of us are over there.
Right. But still, it's still that as humans, I think people
Yeah.
in Hawaii are just like that, right? They're just warm and friendly and happy, and so I think that's what makes Hawaii super unique. And I think that's why people come here too, right? They love that.
The feeling.
They love the feeling that they get when they come here,
Yeah.
right? So, of course the beaches are beautiful and the sky is blue and the ocean is blue and the mountains are green, but still, I think it's the people that they come back for. So how do you make sure that doesn't, right? That doesn't change. How do people, and that part of that I think is preserving the culture, right? And being a steward of how do we help to keep it alive. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I was as you were chatting, I was looking, and I don't feel old, but we are older.
We're super old. So
Yeah.
Well, it depends, on perspective. To a 100-year-old person, we're very young.
But when we were in college, so when we were being inspired to be in this industry and perpetuate aloha, I mean, there was no Google, right? There was no Duolingo. There's no, if you wanted to understand what the lyrics of the Hawaiian song were, you had to listen to the record or the tape over and over and over again and hope you got the words right.
Right.
Unless you knew someone who was Olelo speaking. And at that time, late 80s, early 90s, there were just a handful of people that
Right.
were fluent in the language, right? And then
I don't even think I knew anybody.
I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Personally, right? And then today, right, you've got like over 20,000,
Yay.
over 20,000 native Olelo Hawaii folks, and so many of them are the younger generation. I think it's beautiful to be in a store and hear Hawaiian language being spoken with the little grandchild and the grandpa. Yeah,
That's what I would love
And
to
I'm
see
like,
Waikiki,
wow,
like,
that's
like more people speaking
I
Olelo
think
Hawaii.
eventually it will be.
I think so too.
I mean, I think it will be. There's so much more, and I think it's super cool to see that happening.
yeah.
Where more and more, I mean, the Kamehameha School Song Contest was in Olelo, Hawaii, and I was like, wow,
Wow,
so good.
wow.
Pretty soon the English got to go on the bottom. You know how they
Right,
do the
it's so
interpretation.
beautiful.
The
Mele Manaka,
subtitles.
right? Like
Yeah.
Mary Monarch,
Yeah.
they had like
Yes,
Olelo
yes.
Hawaii
Yeah.
And then,
speakers,
yes,
right?
yes, everything.
Well, so true story. Just this past week, I have a student from Japan. She was intrigued by Hawaiian culture, studied Hawaiian history through her college at a university in Japan. It was under Western history because that's where Hawaiian history was. And there was one professor who had studied Hawaiian history. So she got her degree, and then he told her, I can't teach you anymore. If you want to learn more, you have to go to Hawaii. So she saved her money and came to Kapiolani Community College to study Hawaiian studies. Total girl from Japan. Learned how to surf from the Beach Boys in Waikiki.
Wow.
And totally unassuming. She's really quiet and shy. So she's graduating with her Hawaiian studies degree and a certificate in hospitality. And she's like, oh, Kumu, I would like to work somewhere for my OPT so they can work practical training. She's recently gotten married, so she's married to a local gentleman here, but not allowed to work yet. So I said, oh, well, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to perpetuate aloha because that's my emphasis of study. I love Hawaii. So I said, oh, you remember when we went to the cultural center at Ho'okela? Yeah, last semester we went to visit the aunties. I said, yeah, you want to go work over there? I do. I said, well, you have a lot of Japanese visitors, and if you want to learn more about culture, that's a really authentic place to be. Oh, okay. So I helped her with her resume. So, auntie folks are super busy with Mary Monarch and stuff. And so she stopped by to say, oh, hello. Can I make arrangement for to apply? Oh, no, come inside. Let's have a conversation. So they have a conversation. And so just this week she goes, Kumu, I got that job. What? Yeah. You got that job? I said, did you even apply? She goes, no, we were just talking. And they say, I'm so happy and about Hawaii that it's where I should be. So she said, I think that's where I'm supposed to be. And I was like, oh, so beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. A student from another country who's embraced Hawaii, and is going to go work at a Hawaiian Cultural Center, right? I don't know how to hula, but I will learn. I love that. And so you know how to oli, so that's you. Mm-hmm. You already have something going for you. So, so with that, like, what advice do you have for people who are listening who might be interested in pursuing a career in hospitality in Hawaii?
So, just do it. I mean, if you, I don't know what to, but honestly, right? You gotta, to me, to survive in this industry, you have to love in any job. Mm-hmm. In any job, if you want to be successful in your career, you have to love it. I think that goes for anything that you choose to pursue, right? And so, if you really love this industry, you love what it represents, and you love, the fact that you're in a place where you can change lives, right? Because the people that come here have just this desire to experience what Hawaii is all about. I think it's a great thing to be a part of, right? Mm-hmm. So, but that can be said about any career. But truly, if it's something you want to do, then jump in, and you'll figure out, right, if this is what you want to do and what role you want to play in this business, because there's so many. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a matter of jumping in. And I mean, even if it turns out not to be something that you decide that you want to spend the rest of your life doing, the experiences and what that you'll gain will certainly have an impact on whatever you choose to do later on, right? I mean, seriously, because it's such a unique thing to be a part of, right? The people that you meet, just that you work with on island, and then the people that you meet from those that come to visit, it's pretty neat.
That's true. It's all about building connection.
It is,
right?
Like every day is a different day, right?
And building relationship.
Yeah, like the guy from Alaska that tells you, whatever about the Northern Lights or whatever. You're like, wow, right? Or recently, I had this young man that I work with at work, and he's from Ethiopia. Well, you're originally from Ethiopia and moved to the United States, but still, I mean, you got people from all over the place that you get to connect with that really, really create just this wonderful journey, right, that you can experience. So for that reason, I think, if you're interested in it, just come on over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
You shared with us your journey from small kid time all the way up until now. So what's next for you? What's next on the horizon for Christina?
Oh, I'll probably still work in this industry until I can't anymore. I used to always joke, but I really mean it. I think my last job in this industry, when I get out, I want to end up as a breakfast restaurant server or something.
Go back to honor your grandparents.
When you go to your favorite restaurant, it's always the same little lady
tutu.
that serves you, that keeps your coffee full, right? And I want to be that, right? Work from 6 a.m. to 12 noon, call it a day, right? I think that's the best job. Not even 12 noon, probably 6 to 11.
Yeah, oh my God.
And you're all set.
Totally see her doing that,
Just
right?
breakfast hour.
Yeah, walk out with my water cash or
Right, her roll of dollar bills.
yeah.
And then someday one of the young people can come in and go, oh, look. That's Christina. She used to be my general manager.
That's all right. I have so much dollar bills. And it's so fun, right? I feel like breakfast is always my favorite. That's always my favorite. My favorite servers, my favorite, they're always cheery. I feel like if you work in the morning, you got to be cheery. Right?
You do, yeah.
I love the
I think
cheeriness
I
of
could
the
do
breakfast server.
Yeah.
You'd be like, always cheery.
Yes.
Okay, so I kind of work.
I know. I'll do lunch.
I love
French.
breakfast servers. They're the best.
Oh, well, Christina, we're just so happy that you joined us today. And we're just so proud of you in your career and, the way that you represent us, Hawaii, in the world, the roles that you have and the jobs that you do, the way that you represent us, wahine, in this corporate structure and in our industry. There's so many women leaders that are coming forward and moving up. It's really exciting. And the inspiration you are to the young and up and coming. That'll be the next generation of Christinas.
I don't know about that.
You give hope
Maybe.
to our hospitality industry for
I hope
sure.
I can inspire a few.
But everybody,
That's the ripple.
we worked together for so long in the same company that, I like to think that people enjoyed working for me, but people really love working for you. There are people that I hired to work for the company that they don't keep in touch with me, but they keep in touch with Christina.
I don't know about that.
No, they do.
They love
no.
you.
No.
Thank you, but they love you.
No, because people learn a lot from you. Like, I'm just nurturing, right? I just love people, but they learn a lot from you. And so you're inspiring people even if you don't know it. So thank you for the work that you do and continue to do.
Absolutely.
For us, for this industry, and for Hawaii. So, yeah.
Thank you.
We're
You're
inspired
way,
by
way
you,
too
Christina.
Yeah, we're so inspired. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. This
Thank
was a
you.
lot of fun.
Yeah, and thank you to our listeners for joining us for this episode of Inspired by Aloha.
All right, take care,
Hey.
everyone. Ma'alama pono.
Ahui
Ahui
ho.
ho. Thanks, Christina.
Bye.